Yeah, I'm Rebecca Clancy. I work for Melbourne Water. Very excited to be doing something at Melbourne Water with Thea next week. So we're doing a bit of a lunch and learn session. A couple of years ago, I suppose I put myself out there, my vulnerabilities, and sort of, just went to the workplace. We have Workplace as a platform for internal comms, and just posted a bit of a story about perimenopause, and again, not knowing, had never heard of the term before, that was where I was in my stage in life. One of the things that we are doing, though, is bringing men on the journey, and I'm just wanting to know if others have done that in their organisation, and what has been the vibe with bringing men along on the journey. So has there been resistance, or has it been taken up quite well by men? So just interested to hear what others have got with that.
Sure. So if anyone has got something to share there.
Yeah, I can do that from an IBM perspective. Okay. So for us, we have all wonderful things in place for all sorts of different things, like for our managers around mental health, around pregnancy, around all sorts of things. So in a way, this was just another one. It's just another element, another life stage, another part of well-being, I guess. So I think we've so far, I think it's been all right, and it's been because we're just presenting it as information for managers. You're a manager, you need to look after your team. This is something that that's important, and yeah, I think we've actually had quite good responses, and I think even from men saying, "Wow, now I understand more about what my wife has been going through," or my, and so in some ways there's that aspect as well. We're actually helping by talking about in the workplace. We're potentially helping some of our male colleagues in dealing with their own personal situations. So I've not seen it as being well. There probably is moments too where if I have brought it up with a man, you do see that little bit of discomfort perhaps, but because I guess I'm quite confident in talking about it, I guess that's where it's just like it's just a normal thing. I'm not hiding it. I'm just talking about it in a normal way. So I think that helps as well. I think there'll be all different people, and even some women don't want us to talk about it either. So I've come across that as well, where some women see this, talking about it, as sort of negative and detracting the whole women are equal type scenario, and that this is a step backwards by us being prepared to put this out there, which I completely disagree with. I just feel that this is just a natural part that we just need understanding and support. So yeah, it's interesting views in that there are so many different views on the topic.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Janelle.
Yeah, thank you. And Kerry, did you want to comment on the men issue? If not, I'll come back to you.
We'll just briefly, I think that's a really good idea. I think one suggestion was in your workplace is, and I think this is how I would do it, and I haven't done it yet, but I want to, is set up like a little cafe, not called Menopause Cafe, but something, I don't know, and just get women, I think that's how I'd feel comfortable starting with, and just having those and talking about how we can find solutions in our own workplaces. I think that's really important. But certainly bringing men on board, because I think once you have it out there as a conversation that everyone has, that normalizes it. And at the moment, it's not normalized. It's not something that we talk about openly, and unless, like Janelle was saying, that she's confident speaking about it. But I think that's a start. And that's all.
Yeah, great, thank you. And Sally Carter.
Hi, yeah, just circling back to the comments about, what other options are there if there's brain fog and exhaustion, even with HRT. I'm perimenopausal, but I'm not on HRT. My doctor doesn't think that's right for me at this stage. But I have seen a naturopath, and she did extensive blood tests. My cortisol levels were low, which means I'm very sluggish when I get up in the morning. And that's actually because I think of extended stress. Your cortisol levels go low. And she also did a food test. And so there's a number of foods that I putting antibodies in my system and giving me reactions which can kind of affect my hormones. And so she's wondering whether food is having an effect on my perimenopausal symptoms. So I'm at the beginning of this process of seeing whether some different natural medication she's given me and then a elimination diet is going to help. So that may be another option. Her name's Mia Prowse at Cascade Health.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that, Sally. And it's definitely a time just to leave no stone unturned when it comes to health, doesn't it? Yeah, and your health care for sure. Just got my eye on the time, and I just wanted to, as I mentioned before, I do have a special offer for people who are part of this webinar today. And so for any of you who are looking for more support during this life stage while you're going through menopause, I run a program which I feel very proud of because I think it's a wonderful offering, and it's actually not just me facilitating it. And it's called The Change. So it's a 7-week confidential online program. So this is for women to come together from different workplaces, because obviously we're at the stage where not every workplace is menopause friendly. And it's very much about supporting women. And there are 3 dimensions of support. There's the social support. Oh, thank goodness, I'm not alone. There's psychological support. How do you change the way you think about yourself, as Kerry said, and inoculate ourselves against the negative stereotypes? And that takes work doing that, particularly when you're challenged by really strong symptoms. And then the 3rd form of support is really practical. What can I do at work when I've got bad brain fog? What can I do at work when I'm super embarrassed by all these hot flushes? So we look at those really practical things that you can do just to help you continue to work, and also in some situations just to save face. So we've got 3 women who come on. I call them my guest elders because I think we need to hear more from older women. But most importantly, if anyone does want to join, I'm offering a 10% discount for anyone who registers between now and this time tomorrow. All you need is the discount code, it's called Today, and you can register at thea.com.au/thechange. And honestly, if you look at the people who are involved, you know, the cost is ridiculously cheap. I don't think I'm going to make it this cheap again. But we've got Dr. Nicola Gates, and she's an internationally recognised neuroscience researcher. She's also a clinical neuropsychologist, and she's written the book, The Feel Good Guide to Menopause. So she can help people with all their brain questions. What's happening to my brain and what does the future hold? And she's very passionate about educating women. Like so many of you said, that's so important to do. We've also got Cynthia Hickman, who's a psychologist, and she's very strongly committed to reframing menopause so that we don't just focus on the symptoms, but we remember where this life stage is taking us and we don't get lost along the way. And then also Jean Gamble, who Kerry mentioned, who's a relationship therapist. And, you know, I love what she says here. You know, if we see ourselves as a valuable source for humanity, then others might see the same as well. Someone in the chat box mentioned about, you know, at this age, it's easy to slip into feeling invisible. And she does really great stuff around being seen, being heard, and actually taking a deeper version of ourselves into our work and our personal relationships. It's not a support group. There's no advice giving. It's action learning. And these are just some of the things that people said they took away from when I first piloted, realizing what a contribution you've got to make, just more acceptance, really valuing, you know, other women's stories, but also, and this is, I'm big on this, taking responsibility for what I can. So I call the change for nothing, what needs to change in my life and how can I take responsibility for that? So just briefly, again, if anyone's interested, next 24 hours, 10% discount, and you can go to that webpage. I'll just take 2 more questions, and then I have allowed to 1:45 for anyone who does want a bit of a longer chat, but I'm also aware that some of you might need to leave on the hour. So I'll just go back here, and I noticed, Alison, you've got your hand up. Was there some comment you wanted to make or question you wanted to pose? You just need to unmute your microphone, Alison.
I'm a facilitator. You think I'd know how to use the seriously. Yeah, it was just a question to Rebecca and I guess yourself. Rebecca, you mentioned that you were looking at doing a talk in your work along with Thea and everything else, and I actually raised this with one of my colleagues, and I just want to ask you guys, how will you have people attend that course who you want to attend? You know, we're talking about education and educating, you know, leaders
Yes.
in the workforce. It may be the people who probably will attend will be people who are going through it, opposed to, as we said, younger people who, younger ladies, it's going to happen to them, but yet they're not educated, and having male leaders attend, because they're the ones we also need as well.
Yes.
So how are you going to get that message across to them?
Yeah. So I sort of took a bit of a 3-tiered approach to the internal comms within the business. One was an event on our workplace platform that went through the diversity and inclusion page on that. Also, we've got just a general newsletter that goes out electronically to all employees. So there was something on that. And also then went directly to network. So I sent a direct email to key people that I know in the business that would come along to something like this. I also did brief my team leader, knowing that it's going to spark a conversation in the business. So my team leader, his direct report, and our general manager, all of whom are male and all of whom are attending. So I got them involved that way. And it was also around the language that I used in that communication, is that, you know, we're not talking about women's health issues here. We're talking about something that affects women in the workplace, and it can impact them to the point where they may end up leaving.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. So anyone else with any other comments? Because otherwise we might move on a little bit. So also just wanted to let you know, and Alison, you might find some of these free resources helpful if you haven't downloaded them already from thea.com.au/menopause. There's one that's just 2 pages, like what's the business case for talking about menopause at work. So you might find that a helpful conversation starter. And there's also some tips around challenging the stigma, as well as a research report on women's experience. And the main thing that women ask for all the time, whatever, even if they've got mild symptoms, is number one, can we please normalise the conversation? So if anyone wants to make use of those free resources, please do. So as I said, I had allowed to 1:45, but people can make different choices here. Because I do like for these forums to allow people to connect as well. I'm thinking of just, you know, maybe a 5 to 10 max breakout room, 3 people, and just sharing to say, hi, what got you here today? And what's happening in your workplace, or what would you like to see happening in your workplace? Because you can see how valuable it is to share ideas. So for those of you that need to leave now, thank you so much for joining us. But if you'd like to stay just for a short connect with some other women before we sign off, I'll just get those breakout rooms starting now. Okay.